Hey everybody, Austin back again with another Longplay video, and for those of you watching from implantgames.com, welcome back to another episode of Let's Beat. Today we're going to be running through Jackal on the 8-bit Nintendo, and this is one I don't want to say rediscovered, but it's one that I finally decided I was going to try to finish just recently. I actually did a casual review of this game on my YouTube channel, and it sort of got me motivated to try to finally beat this game. Because I never beat this game before. I'm 30 years old and I've never finished Jackal. I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people out there, but Jackal really, it gave me trouble. About 10 years ago when I first started, well, a little more than 10 years ago when I really first started collecting Nintendo games for the first time, you know, I was naturally playing a lot of the games I bought, and Jackal was one of them. It was one I never really played much of as a kid. I got to play it once or twice. I had memories of playing it as a kid, just very briefly, but it wasn't one that I got to own or rent or anything like that. It wasn't one I got to finish. And when I rediscovered it, maybe about 10 or 12 years ago, it gave me trouble. Or at least the last stage gave me trouble, and the last boss gave me trouble. But just a couple days ago, as of recording this, I managed to beat it. I managed to beat this game, and you know, so here we are now. I decided to go ahead and bust it out again and record footage for a long play video. So this is definitely not a perfect run. I'll go ahead and just say that right now, because I do die twice, I believe, throughout the main game. And then the last boss pretty much just owns me, and I think I died like 5 times in the last boss alone, so not a perfect run by any stretch of the word, but I do think I do alright for the majority of the standard game, the last boss notwithstanding, but you know, overall I don't think I did too bad up until the last boss. So for those of you guys that have not played Jackal before, Jackal is a top-down sort of free-roaming shooter, run and gun, walk and gun, whatever you want to call them. In my casual review, I sort of compared it to games like Ikari Warriors, Guerrilla War, like that, except you're in a Jeep. And it's kind of like those. It's not nearly as chaotic as those games, but you definitely have to be aware of what's going on, because you could just be rolling up the screen and then boom, there's a tank that just shoots a bullet straight at you and you're dead. It's one-hit kills in this game, despite you being in a fairly large Jeep. It's still one-hit kills in this game, so you gotta really be careful in this game. Even the little soldiers that are not even a quarter the size of your ship, they can kill you in one hit. Now you can run them over, but if they shoot a bullet at you and it touches you, you're toast. You're gone. So you definitely got to still be careful in this game, and this game is definitely not a cakewalk if you're the kind of person that likes to sort of rush through without really paying attention. It is the kind of game where you're gonna have to practice it a little bit. Like I said, I had this about 10-12 years ago when I was first starting to collect NES games for my first time, and I couldn't beat this game. It gave me trouble, at least the last level did. So, but now I'm able to do that with a little bit of practice. And, you know, as a 30-year-old adult now, it only took me 2, 3, maybe 4 tries before I was able to finally finish it and have a good feel for what everything was in the game. It's not a very long game by any means. It's going to take about a half an hour to get through, and that's about the length of this video. And so, as a result, there's not a ton of things to like memorize in this game. There's only 6 or 7 stages. It's each stage is pretty open. I don't want to say each stage is bare, but it's not like, say, like a modern day cave shoot 'em up where there's just so much crap it's going to take you a week to memorize one stage. I mean, it might take you a day or 2 to memorize this whole game, because as you can see what's going on right here, the game doesn't really get that much more chaotic as it goes on. It's just enemies start shooting more bullets, there's a few more enemies, their patterns become a little more dense, things like that. But again, if you just kind of take your time, as I'm doing right now, you'll notice me constantly shooting, you'll notice me constantly tossing out my missiles. It's a way to stay safe and to be sort of proactive with pushing the screen up. And that actually leads me to the next thing I wanted to touch up on, and that is the missiles. You start off with a grenade, and your grenade is, well, it's powerful, and it can go over like trees and walls and things like that, which certain missiles cannot. But after you pick up the POWs, the prisoners of war that are glowing, they upgrade your weapons, and each one upgrades it one step. And after your grenade, you get your missile. And then after that, it upgrades your missile to where it shoots out in 2 directions. Where, I mean, it does splash damage in 2 directions. And then when you upgrade it again, it does splash damage in all 4 directions. And that's pretty ideal. Unfortunately, the rockets themselves don't go over walls and things like that. But the splash damage does. It goes through the walls. And even if the tiniest piece of the splash damage part, or the shrapnel, whatever you want to call it, if it touches anything, it'll kill them in one hit. Unless it's like a boss or something like that, or an enemy that happens to take more than 2 hits with a missile, which is rare in this game. Most enemies can die in 1 hit with your missiles and grenades in this game. So, what you'll see me doing as I'm playing is just constantly shooting the missiles out, because what will oftentimes happen is the splash damage will reach out and kill an enemy before it even comes on screen. And you can use that to your advantage. You can shoot your missiles diagonally. You can sort of kind of plan on where they're going to land and where the splash damage is going to go. And as a result, kill enemies with the splash damage from a very safe distance. And you'll see me doing that a lot in this game. And if you can, play that way. It's the best way to stay safe in this game. And staying safe is important if you want to survive and have lots of extra lives. Because I think by the end of this run, guys, I have like 8 lives or something like that. You get a lot of extra lives in this game. If you manage to collect all the POWs and stuff like that, when you drop them off at little helipads there, you get good points, and as a result, you'll get some good extra lives in the process. So here we are at the second boss. You got these 4 Medusa heads up there, and they shoot out these homing missiles. There's a variety of ways you could do this, but obviously you can only damage them with your missiles. Your normal shot does not hurt them, but your normal shot's good for shooting down the homing missiles if you happen to miss them. One thing you can do, though, is if your missiles are fully powered like this, is you can sort of time when they're going to shoot out, and you can toss 1 missile up there, and it'll actually splash over and destroy the homing missiles as they're coming out of the Medusa's mouths. Assuming they're Medusa things. They look like Medusas to me. So. And now we're on the 3rd stage in the game. And, I'd say this is where the game starts picking up a little bit more. And there's more enemies that will actually shoot more bullets at you. Towards the end of the stage, there are these sort of turrets that come out of the ground, and they shoot these 5 or 6-way spread shots. And you have to really watch out for those, because if you're too close to them, there's just no chance of you dodging their bullets. Whereas if you get farther back on the screen, you can. And I think this level is actually where I die for my first time. I'm pretty sure I only died twice along the main game itself, and it's right here I die. I thought I killed that guy with my splash damage, and I did not. So that's an example right there of you needing to pay attention, because, you know, just the smallest guy and the smallest bullet can kill you in 1 hit in this game. So if you're trying for survival, you're trying to not one credit clear, but 1 life kill this game, or 1 life finish this game, no death run this game, I guess you could call it, is you really need to be you need to be on your toes, basically. You need to be on point, which I was not. I let that guy slip by me, and I basically paid the price. So. Now, one thing you'll notice me doing is try and aim my grenades in other directions that, you know, basically if I'm like higher up on the screen but there's a tank behind me, I try to shoot the tanks really quick with my grenades. And what you can do is you notice as you turn the Jeep around, it rotates around. And, you know, when you try to turn and dodge, it's a little slow. But what's kind of cool is if you try to like turn to the opposite direction and just to toss a grenade, it does it like that on the frame. So what you can do is if you're moving up and then you see something coming up behind you, or you know, somewhere behind you, whether it be directly back or 45 degrees down, you can quickly tap in that direction, tap the grenade button or the missile button, and it'll fire out. But as you're doing that, immediately reverse in the other direction, and you'll literally just turn around for literally a frame or two, toss out a missile, and then you'll be back in the other direction. The missile will be flying out, the grenade will be flying out while you're continuing to roll up or get away again. So it's something to think about if you're new to this game. And it's definitely a good way to be very quick and precise and on point. Now these lasers here are actually a little bit tricky, and it's not really so much that they're tricky, it's the first laser that's tricky. And if you look closely, you'll notice that they'll fire depending on how many lasers are open on the screen. If you only have one laser on the screen, it'll shoot basically 3 times as fast as it normally does. So once you get other lasers, once you push other lasers onto the screen, they'll alternate, so each laser will, as a result, start shooting slower. It's that first laser that's really tricky to get by, though. You have to be really on point, and the second it disappears, bolt over, and it'll just miss you by a hair. And that's probably one of the trickiest parts in this game, honestly, and it actually got me quite a few times on one of my first tries when I revisited this game a few nights back. Or actually, technically, by the time you watch this video, it'll probably be a month or 2 back, or a few weeks back at least. But when I say revisit it, I mean busting this game out to do that casual review that will have been uploaded prior to this long play video. Now, one other thing you might have noticed as I've been progressing is there are some little icons that appear out of the ground. If you drop a missile in the right point, or a grenade at the right point, you can basically find these star icons. And now, I'm not sure exactly what they do fully, but I do know that if you only have your grenades, or if your missile's not fully powered up, it'll power up your guns for you, or your missiles. It'll basically power up your secondary attack, which is extremely useful. Because there's actually one of those on the very final stage in the game, and you'll see that when I get to that point. I do find it on the final stage, and if you die and things become a little more tricky with just you and your grenades, being able to instantly upgrade to your missiles, especially ones that do the splash damage, is extremely useful. So I do discover a few of those stars on this playthrough. I can guarantee you though that I don't know where all of them are, so this is definitely not a walkthrough in that sort of manner. But you can probably go to GameFAQs or something like that, or watch a YouTube video for all the star positions. And this stage is where, well, they start tossing in some other things at you, like up in this sort of mountain formation, these boulders fall down. You can destroy them with your missiles. There's also a point where there's a very similar looking mountain formation just a little ways on that shoots out some homing missiles. There's a little ship at the top that shoots out homing missiles, so you'll see me destroy that before it even fires out any missiles, and I'll point that out once we get there. There's also a little bit of a train that comes out from behind you, and that's kind of cool. for an 8-bit Nintendo game. But it's definitely something you also have to watch out for because it also shoots at you at the same time and things like that. So, again, something to be watching out for. But again, we'll get there in just a moment or two. And there's one of the blinking prisoners of war. They're the guys that actually give you your power-ups, and they are extremely useful. Now, don't get too comfortable with just running in and blowing up these houses or these prisons, because on the second to last stage, there's actually one where you blow it up and a tank comes flying out. And that actually got me on my first time. I got killed on my first time when I did that. So you don't want to get too comfortable with just running in and blowing up the houses or prisons or whatever you want to call them. So something to keep an eye out for. You'll notice me just kind of inching my way up and inching my way by, and it's basically something I've been doing for the whole video up to this point, and it's to try to stay safe. It's you know, if you want to survive in this game, you've got to try to stay safe, and that's really the case for most old school action games that aren't a complete cakewalk. You've really got to try to stay safe if you want to survive. Unless you're just godlike or something like that, and you don't have to do that. But for most of us normal people, I would recommend trying to focus on staying safe. And that even means doing what I'm doing here, kind of spamming the screen in case anything comes flying down from the top. Because on later stages, enemies do come flying down from the top, even when you're dropping off your prisoners of war at the helipads. Be it like jeeps will come out of nowhere or helicopters will come out of nowhere, and they'll keep respawning as long as you're still sitting in that same spot. So, you know, spam away and don't feel guilty about it. It's all about staying safe and surviving. So this boss right here, you have to hit him head on with the missiles or your grenades. The splash damage actually does not hurt him. So, and that's the case with most bosses in this game. You actually have to hit them directly with the missiles. The splash damage will not work. And I got 24 prisoners of war in that stage, which amounted to a good 20,000 or so bonus points. So this is the stage I was talking about, where if you blow up one of the houses, a tank just comes flying through, and you'll see that in just a minute or two. Now, it's actually this house up here to the left that actually houses a tank. And you'll see him pop out. Just he got me so bad on the first time I got here a little while ago. So watch out for that yourself. Again, like I said, don't get too comfortable with just running into the houses or prisons and blowing them wide open. At least don't do it head on, because, you know, the tank will come out right at you. Now, I think that's actually the only point in the game where a tank comes out when you blow up a house or a prison like that. It's not something you have to worry about a lot, but it's always that one that'll catch you off guard that'll get you. At least that's how it always works for me, or it seems to work that way. And in reality, I should have gone down on that second bridge in the middle, because, you know, in my normal playthrough, I didn't notice it, but there was actually a bonus star that appeared there, and I probably could have pushed down far enough to grab it, and I did not. I didn't even notice it when I was playing, so... But that's a shame. And it was sort of a bluish kind of star. I'm not sure if that's any different than the sort of blinking gold orangish ones. Not sure what it does as a result. Maybe it was an extra life or something like that. I don't know. But if I play this game again sometime soon, I'll have to check that out and see what it does. Now on this bridge right here, you'll see these little blinking things pop up, and I believe those are actually mines. If you walk over them, or drive over them, technically, you die. So you don't want to walk or drive. I keep saying walk, even though I'm in a Jeep. You don't want to drive straight over them because, well, you will die. And as far as I know, there's no way to destroy them, but if you get close to them, they appear. You sort of detect them, and you can get around them. Now, I believe this is one of those stages where once you're dropping off your folks at the heliports or the helipad, these planes keep coming down. So this is where I was saying, you know, keep firing in one direction and hope that you, you know, destroy the planes as they come down while you're dropping off your guys, because every guy that goes down or gets dropped off is 500 points. And if you have 20 some odd guys, that's, well, that's a lot of points. So... And points basically equate to extra lives in this game. So if you want to try to do this game without continuing, getting extra lives is definitely, well, definitely required. So, well, required if you're like me and you can't beat this game without dying more than twice. So again, we're actually kind of close to the end of the game already, but as I was saying, I do pretty well throughout the main game itself. It's just the last boss I die at like 5 times or something like that, and I think I die once on the last stage as well. And this boss is pretty simplistic. There's basically 4 main doors that open up, and you have to shoot the sort of blinking targets when the door opens up. And when you do that, after enough hits, they'll basically blow up, and the door will no longer open, and tanks will no longer come out. And afterwards, once you destroy everything, the main gate blows up, and then I believe we're on to the final stage now. Now, naturally, this is going to be the most difficult level in the game. There are a lot more turrets, and their firing patterns are a lot more dense. They fire out a lot more bullets, and because there's usually multiple turrets at one time spread around, it's more difficult to dodge. And you'll see me trying to play extremely safe on this level in order to destroy every turret I come by without getting killed. But the turrets are typically perched on the green buildings on the left and right sides of the screen, so that's something to watch out for. And as usual, you can see my splash damage, or shrapnel, is really coming in handy. It's extremely useful in this game. You know, you can basically kill 2 or 3 enemies at one time with it. You can kill enemies from a safe distance, whereas they cannot shoot you. With the splash damage, it's great. So, if you're having problems with this game, make sure your missiles are powered up fully, and just kind of do what I'm doing. Try to play safe and utilize the shrapnel or the splash damage to basically its fullest potential. Alright guys, we're basically at the final boss right now. And basically there's two forms. The first form includes basically these laser turrets at the top. They shoot out. If you touch a laser, you die. They also form these holes in the ground, and you cannot drive over those holes. You get stuck on them. Now I was kind of stuck in a sore spot, or a tough spot here, because I died and I lost my missiles. So I'm trying to do this with just my grenades, and it's a little more challenging. They're not nearly as fast, and which is not quite ideal when you've got enemies coming up from behind you. So anyway, after you destroy both laser turrets, you just go for the main hub, and then once you destroy that, the second form comes out, and that is the part that's the real pain in the ass, because, well, it's quick, and there's two sections, and you'll see it in just a moment. So here we go, this is the second form. Basically what he does, he just moves from left to right, kind of in an unpredictable manner. Sometimes he'll stop and shoot whenever he feels like it, sometimes right there, and sometimes one right after another. And it's kind of hard to predict, and like I said, I ended up dying to this guy like 4 or 5 times. I don't want to say this guy's kind of cheap, but I feel I kind of got gypped on a couple of the deaths, just because your Jeep is so slow compared to him. He's just kind of really bouncing back and forth pretty quickly. And I was trying to predict the shots, but it's not working because the shots are kind of unpredictable. At least I haven't been able to pick out any sort of pattern, so... but basically, again, the only thing that damages him are your grenades or your missiles. And do what you can to try to dodge his bullets, and then obviously dodge the big ass laser or shot of fire he shoots out, whatever you want to call it. I'll call it a laser because it looks a little bit like the laser from the Contra games, albeit it's a little bit thicker. So this guy actually changes colors, just like in some of the Contra games actually, and Ninja Turtles. So. Once he gets to that reddish color, he is basically about to die. And guys, that basically wraps up my Jackal long play video. So, there you have it, Jackal from start to finish. Now, just like the other Konami games of the day, like Castlevania and the Contra games, once you finish this game, it'll actually start you back over from the very beginning of the game. Albeit the difficulty will be slightly ramped up, and you'll get to keep your score and your lives. So you can try to keep going as long as you can until you game over, and that's it. No continues on your second loop, and much like a lot of shoot 'em ups of the modern day. So that basically wraps it up, guys. One thing I thought that was kind of interesting that I failed to mention earlier on in the video is that this, just like the Contra games on Nintendo, was actually based on an arcade game. In Japan, it was called Jackal, but over here in America, the arcade version of this game was apparently called Top Gunner. And I've yet to try that out, but I've seen screenshots, and you can get it through MAME, and it looks pretty sweet. So, for those of you guys that can't get enough Jackal, I'd suggest checking out the arcade version somewhere. But with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up here. If you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe. I've got videos on at least a weekly basis, and I've got a lot of long plays like this if this is your cup of tea. I've also got reviews, if that's your cup of tea. So, anyway, for everyone else, thanks for watching. I'll be back with some new videos sometime soon. So, take care.